Vanakkam and a very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight we are bringing you highlights from our recently concluded Chennai Springboard. The spotlight today is going to be on Chennai's manufacturing prowess, how it's rising as an industrial hub and driving the global blueprint for industrial excellence. In this panel discussion, I'll be in conversation with CK Mohan, President Tamil Nadu Small and Tiny Industries Association, Divya Abhishek, Chairperson FICCI FLO, Chennai, and Dayal Nathan, Founder and CEO Energy. So Mr. Mohan, Ms. Divya and Mr. Nathan, it is a pleasure to have you all join us, for our ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow Springboard, Chennai Springboard. And, I want to open this by talking about Chennai's manufacturing prowess. So Chennai, as we all know, it has a flourishing automobile industry. It is also known as a hub for warehousing and logistics parks. And when we talk about the manufacturing sector, I think it contributes to almost 1/3 of the entire GDP of the state of Tamil Nadu. So my first question, and this is a common question for all my panelists, if you could talk to us about what are the key factors that are driving Chennai's growth to become an industrial hub. It is already an industrial hub, but I want to understand from you, from your perspective, what are the key factors? Let's start with you, Mr. Mohan.
The foundation was laid 50 years ago by our late Honorable President of India, R. Venkatraman, and Mr. Alexander, who was the commissioner then, and the then Chief Minister Kamaraj, to make Tamil Nadu as an industrial hub, especially Chennai was preferred. This is where they started ICF, HVF, Heavy Vehicles Factory. Then you had the private TVS groups of industries, then Simpson, Royal Enfield, MRF, and so on. See,
sure.
All these industries were started then. Because of that, there are further ancillary movements started in Tamil Nadu, for which, again, government has created the industrial estate in Gindi and Ambattur Industrial Estate. That is where the whole movement started, and many micro-industries could become the ancillary industries to all these giant, and by which Chennai has become a manufacturing hub.
Absolutely. Divya?
We've had a very interesting journey as far as Chennai is concerned. It used to be called as Orthodox Madras. And then today, as we see, it's a knowledge powerhouse. We've become a fintech giant with largest world-class technology and expanding urban city limits. But I think the journey did not start like this. It was transformative. Way back in the 2000s, we had several policy changes up with times, which positioned Chennai to where it is today. If you take 2004, we had the SEZ policy coming up. 2011 IT policy, 2018 auto parts policy, 2019 EV policy, 2023 logistics policy. The reason I say this is because we were able to keep up with what was happening globally. We were able to position ourselves as a land of opportunity in Chennai. And when you become a land of opportunity, today as we speak, we have 8,000 products that are being produced from our city. We have about 12,000 factories, making us the largest industrial hub in South India. And I think there are three key factors that position Chennai as an industry hub. The first and foremost is we have a 60-kilometer long automotive corridor. By that, large companies are incentivized to come set up their industries. They have infrastructure readily available. Second, as you said, because we're in the Coromandel coast, we have a great positioning naturally itself. So we're able to import and export at ease. And this is also aided by smooth public transport systems where transition and transit of raw materials becomes easier.
Absolutely.
The third and most critical aspect which sustains this economy and growth is having access to skilled and educated labor. So this is how I believe Chennai became.
Mr. Nathan, would you like to respond to that?
The one thing which I would like to say is the supply chain. Why many of them come to Chennai is for a simple reason is that if you start even a very big auto hub, you can start as like how Ford started or Hyundai started. It is just not those big MNCs. You need from that to the lowest of a small plastic hub of 2 paisa or 5 paisa also being manufactured. And that is available in Chennai. It's just not the engineering colleges and diploma. A major impetus also comes from the ITI which is there. I don't know how many of you know, today it is probably easier to hire an engineering guy, but very difficult to hire an ITI guy in Tamil Nadu because they are the most sought after people in the MSME and the manufacturing sector.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely touch on the MSME, sector in a while. But Mr. Mohan, I want to come to you now. I want to talk a little bit about the export. Now, Tamil Nadu has a very strong export footprint. Especially when we talk about textile manufacturing or automotive manufacturing. I want to understand from you how is Chennai positioned on that front, equipped on that front, and also in terms of now that the production potential is shifting from China to India, how do you think the city, as the capital city of Tamil Nadu, can really contribute to help boost exports for India?
Because all the majors are there, all the auto majors are there and other people. Whatever they are exporting, the MSMEs are able to supply to them with that world standards. That is one of the reasons the exports are definitely positive this thing with the Chennai-based industries. Because they are already have come to that level where they will be able to produce and export it. Not only that, again, as per this thing, the educated, manpower available, where all this, the high-level technology changes also now we are able to adapt it immediately without any, because there's a lot of R&D is going on now.
Divya, coming to you, I also want to talk about, because, MSMEs definitely, but also Tamil Nadu also has the highest number of women entrepreneurs, right? In fact, I think 25% of MSMEs in Tamil Nadu are led by women entrepreneurs. So I want to get an overview from you in terms of, how is the women entrepreneur landscape here and what needs to be done to support them, to help them grow, especially in the industrial sector that we're talking about.
That's a very valid question, and as you rightly said, Tamil Nadu has the highest number of women-led enterprises. We have over 15 lakh women entrepreneur enterprises here, and this has been consistently the highest for many years. And in 2020, actually, to formalize this sector, the MSME sector, they introduced something called as a Udyam registration, where a unique number was given to every MSME, and only if you had that number, you could avail any benefits that come through. So when statistics were taken, only 20% of the total Udyam registered enterprises were women-led. So we do have some way to go to balance that ratio. And I think some strategies that can truly help. First and foremost is, I think we must acknowledge that the government, both center and the state, have taken tremendous effort to bring out several schemes, incentives, subsidies, support. But what is not there, which is percolating yet, is the awareness of it. And second myth that I want to bust is, it is not just funding related. Only when you need a loan, you need not look at the scheme. There are several other innovative schemes that have come out. So I think spreading awareness of that will really help. The second way, I think, which is very important to have as a strategy, is to create the right knowledge ecosystems for these women. Sure. Some ways could be where you have a mentorship support. Second is in terms of infrastructure, to have incubation centers, access to research and development. I think all these will truly help them shine and grow in their space.
Fantastic. Mr. Nathan, coming to you. Now, Chennai is also known as the hub for IT industries and also for, encouraging companies that are high on technology. Now, I know, given your expertise in the energy sector, I know you are using a lot of technology and innovation in making, in trying to make energy more efficient, right? Efficient use of energy. So tell us, what role do you think technology and innovation is going to play to actually enhance the rapid, development of Chennai as an industrial hub?
The manufacturing base is there in Chennai, but all of us are already aware that Chennai is one of the leaders in the SaaS technology. So we have a lot of tech actually available in Chennai. Like, for example, in my company, we provide solutions for companies or factories to reduce energy cost and increase productivity. The infra is more towards technology to the common man or technology to the common manufacturer. I think that is what is helping Chennai to get into more of innovation in the manufacturing sector.
Absolutely. We spoke about MSMEs, and Mr. Mohan, I would like to circle back to you. While you have, in your earlier answers, spoken about how the MSME sector can play a part, in Chennai's growth as an industrial hub, but I want to add another layer to that question to ask, how can we encourage more investment happening in the MSME sector? What needs to be done to actually empower more smaller businesses? How can we encourage more investment coming in? Or what can you tell us?
Unless there is an investment from corporates and MNCs, the ancillaries cannot grow. All these small industries are not, basically, they don't produce and sell directly. See, they are all mostly, the strength of Chennai is the ancillary movement in Tamil Nadu. So there, if you want the ancillaries to grow, unless you have an MNC or corporates to invest, it cannot happen. See, already we have a strong base. These are all few changes which can work better.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We are bringing you highlights from our recently concluded Chennai Springboard. Take a look at the panel discussion.
Speaking of investment, and I just want to open this up as a common question as well, FDI inflow in the state of Tamil Nadu increased by 12% in the year FY 23-24. I want to understand, how can policymakers, how can the government ensure that, we have more foreign investment coming into the state? What needs to be done, especially for smaller businesses as well? Mr. Nathan, let's start with you this time.
So there are two things which could be helping the investment. One is, how do you connect these MSME owners to the big corporations who want business from these MSMEs? The MSMEs are all basically first generation or second generation entrepreneurs. They were doing business, they were making money, they bought land, they got wealth. But suddenly when the whole system changes, how do they get opened up to a new environment where suddenly you have the Samsung and LGs and the Foxcons of the world coming? There's a disconnect. So if this connect happens, it happens. This kind of a gap can be filled by either the investment community, either a banker or a private banker or a VC, whatever. I think that will help more MSMEs to think bigger, have a greater vision. And once this happens, then I think the foreign money will automatically happen.
Do you agree, Divya?
I do agree with that, and I think to add on to it, to look at some statistics, we have the largest number of factories in Tamil Nadu, we're the third largest exporter, we're the sixth largest FDI, investment entity in Tamil Nadu. But how this has been possible for Tamil Nadu is by diversification of the industries. As a suggestive point, we had recently the global investors meet in Chennai, where up to 6.64 lakh crore MOUs were signed, enabling further development. Maybe we can look at holding more of this in Chennai to really position ourselves and not necessarily to attract new investment, but it can also be a scenario where you have a large MNC setting up in, say, Pune or somewhere in the north, but to set up a second plant here. I think that secondary measure will also enable the industries to grow.
Today we are talking about Chennai setting a global benchmark, on industrial manufacturing sectors. Mr. Nathan, I want to bring you in here, because I think we cannot talk about setting global benchmarks without talking about sustainability. And, given your expertise, working in the energy sector, I want to understand from you, what advice would you have for businesses in the industrial sectors, in terms of how they can adopt, more greener practices, sustainable practices, not just for their own good, but to also become more globally competitive on the international stage?
If you see specifically Chennai comes into the category of called discrete manufacturing, which is not a process manufacturing, which means that you make parts either in metal or plastic or whatever form. That's what we call discrete manufacturing. In discrete manufacturing, I have understood from my clients and my customers' experience, that generally the energy consumption is not more than 4 to 5%. So if you look at discrete manufacturing, there are only a few things to be done. One, go to solar because it saves you energy cost. And no, that is not rocket science. And if you can't afford the money, there are people who are willing to invest solar panels for you at a lower cost. That's one way of looking. Every industry has so many things which consume energy. It is just not the machinery. It is the air compressor, it is the air conditioning, it is the motors, it is the pump, it is waters flowing. So that is what is doing, and government is also taking a lot of steps. However, in the policy level, both in the center, which is normally a translation from center to state, what is happening is government gives a lot of incentives called as e-certs. It's actually like a share market. If you have the e-certs, like for example, if the cement factory, and they're consuming a lot of energy, and if they save some energy, government gives them some e-cert. And that e-cert can be traded against money. So they all do that. However, that kind of a policy is not there for the manufacturing MSMEs. Since they don't have e-certs as a policy, what happens? There is no motivation or initiative for them to go on energy cost. So whatever people do is only to reduce the cost but not save on energy. So my answer to that is, you have hazard things to be done in the manufacturing factory, but energy only constitute 4 to 5%. However, for power guzzlers, there are lots and lots of technologies available to reduce energy costs. One of them is auditing, one of them is real-time auditing, like how we do analytics for large companies. So that answers your question.
Fantastic. Divya, we spoke a lot about opportunities. I'm going to talk about the challenges. You work and interact with a lot of entrepreneurs in your network. Tell me, what do you think are the key challenges that they are facing, especially when it comes to scaling and growing?
I think the biggest hurdle any MSME faces today is the working capital crunch. The reason is they purchase on cash, but they supply on credit, which means that they purchase paying money, but when they supply to large enterprises on credit, where the terms are very, very flaky. It could be much delayed than what is there, per the contract. So very often it becomes a chicken and egg story, because they want money to do the next supply. They go to the bank for a loan, but the bank does not issue the loan because of the low credit rating. And then they need that money to have a higher credit rating. So how do we bridge this? I think there are several ways the government has tried to plug this loophole. One way is to give collateral-free loans. The second way is to give, a lot of subsidies. For example, there's a capital subsidy up to 25% if you're purchasing plant and machinery. If it's run by a woman, you get up to 30%. You have several credit guarantee schemes, as was highlighted. So I think making use of these schemes will really help bridge that working capital gap for you. And the other ways in which I think the hurdles that come through is, one is, as I already said, through mentorship, having a strong support system. A lot of times we assume when we start a business, it has to be capital intensive. But I think now times have changed. You start to innovate. And innovation doesn't necessarily mean technology. So I think the way in which you innovate your business model makes all the difference in terms of how you sustain and grow in the economy today. Very important. The third aspect in which you can, go through these hurdles is, since I already told about cash crunch, instead of investing in an asset, which could be capital intensive, you can go for a leasing or a hiring concept. Instead of investing in human resource, today you have a CEO sharing concept where you can still subsidize your costs. So having your eye on the ball in terms of, do you have cash flow to sustain for the next 3 or 5 years is very, very important.
That was a very good discussion that we had. And by way of closing remarks, I just have one last common question for all of you. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the theme for our show this season is Powering Entrepreneurs for the Global Stage. And tonight we are spotlighting the manufacturing industrial sector here in Chennai. And when we talk about manufacturing, the Make in India initiative was launched by the government, 10 years ago in 2014, and we are in 2024 now. I want to understand from each one of you, how do you think the city, of Chennai and also Tamil Nadu as a state, how it has really harnessed the Make in India initiative to really make an impact on the global stage, and going forward, looking ahead in the next 5-10 years, what needs to be done so that the city can really drive the global blueprint for industrial excellence? Let's start with you, Mr. Nathan.
What I feel is right now, because suddenly there's a lot of synergy between manufacturing, technology, R&D, and they have not mentioned this, especially in Tamil Nadu government, 10 years ago when we wanted to start startups, there was not so much of initiative. Now we have Startup TN in Tamil Nadu, They're taking a lot of initiatives, not only for tech companies, even for the manufacturing companies. All these initiatives will lead to higher value-added manufacturing rather than just cost-effective manufacturing is what I see which is going to happen from Tamil Nadu in the next 10 years. It is just not going to be at a lower cost. It is just going to be more higher value-added products. I think that is what I foresee in the next 10 years happening from Tamil Nadu.
Fantastic. Divya?
I think the world we live in today, the only constant is going to be change and innovation. So I think by getting ahead of the curve, ensuring that if there is AI, there's a startup, there's technology, getting ahead, understanding it, setting up the incubation centers, revising your policy and order to align with those motives will truly help us, sustain there at the global stage. Even if you take EV, setting up your research and development centers will really help us, get ahead and understand how to truly become flexible on the global stage.
Mr. Mohan, I'll let you have the last word.
What is happening is here also I would like the corporates, instead of telling their ancillaries to follow all these things, otherwise I will not give you order, they should be a part of it, invest in their ancillaries, then make them to come to that level, then it's easier for taking it to global in a very big way.
I think we covered all the points. I think this was a very fruitful discussion. Before I let you go, I would like to open the floor up. If anyone has a question, yes, we'll get a mic to you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Amit Ghosh, and I head Career Growth Plus International, which is into capability building for leaders and their employees. Now, to up the game in the space of quality, how important it is for the MSMEs to invest in the capability building.
Today, if you know, the actual factory today, whenever it is being built and designed anywhere in and around Chennai, is that along with the factory, in the corner of the factory, they build one 50 to 100 people seating dormitory, okay, where people from different parts of the country can come and do the workforce. Now the point is, how do you connect that vision to this skill force who are sitting in those dormitories, who are either having little education or no education, and how do you translate? I think that is the transformation which the employers need to see now. And that is where the government will have to play a force where, how can you build quality systems? But it is not that nothing has been done. SKDG, the skill development centers, have taken a lot of action on that. They are giving a lot of money to ITIs. They are giving money, 25,000 rupees. They are giving to the institutions, telling them, we will pay you money, you bring your employee, we will train you. Everywhere there is a lot of things happening, but it's going to happen much faster, not at the rate what is happening now. It has to be a little bit more faster.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohan, Ms. Divya, Mr. Nathan, for being today, and having this really, really insightful discussion. I'm sure our viewers will have a lot to take away. Thank you so much for joining us.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.